Hello friends and welcome back to a new video. I know it's been a little while, but the reaction videos are back. If you're new to this channel, then hi, my name is Florian, and in this series here I'm breaking down the edits of some of the most known filmmakers here on YouTube so that any of you aspiring filmmakers or editors can learn something to improve your videos. So today we're gonna look at Matt Diavella's A Day in the Life of a Minimalist. Let's jump over to the computer. So I still remember, I think this was the very first video that I've seen on his channel. Also, I think one of the first of his videos that really went viral and that made his channel grow so much last year. When I watched this video first, I think I subscribed within the first like 15-20 seconds or so. Let's look at it, and as always, I'm gonna interrupt whenever there's something for you to learn.
It's 6 a.m. I've trained myself to wake up at the same time every day, so I have no need for an alarm clock.
So just for the first 3 shots of the video, when I watch something like this, I'm first thinking about how was this shot? How did he record it? And you see that it's 3 simple shots, no movement, camera on a tripod locked in. And he was very, very intentional about choosing the shots. So here, for example, especially this overhead shot, which became one of his like signature shots on a very wide angle lens from a very unique perspective that you rarely see. And despite that none of these shots have any movement because he was filming it alone, just the perspective and the framing here is what really makes it special.
My name's Matt, and this is a day in the life of a minimalist. My life is about efficiency, optimization,
So that continues throughout the entire video, but especially the intro. Here it's just a static shot that stands there for 2 or 3 seconds, but he's very intentional about the symmetry and the way that he's framed it. And also, of course, the entire video lives off of the script that he wrote and the timing to the music. The music reminds me very much of like when you have something like a Kevin Home Alone from the end of the 90s and there's someone sneaking around the house.
Multifunctionality.
It fits perfectly to the parody.
Nothing.
And yeah, that moment in the video I was like, is he actually serious? Or is this a joke?
Thing goes to waste. You may notice that I don't have a garbage bin. That's because I don't have anything to throw away.
And that was also really made his video so special, and probably one of the biggest reasons why so many people have subscribed to his channel last year is that just his dry and sarcastic sense of humor.
This may look like just a normal cereal bowl to the non-minimalist.
What I would want you to pay attention here to is that it's a very plain and simple shot. But you could have shot it so many different ways. You could have shot it from the side. Could have shot it from here on a normal tripod, but then most likely there would have been any sort of distracting things in the background, and you wouldn't be focusing only on the bowl. And what he did instead is he filmed it on an overhead rig and made sure to frame it so that you only see the bowl and then give it some really nice soft lighting. Where here you see the shadow and down here the shadow, so it comes from a very soft, big source that's very close. And especially in topics of lighting, we get to this later, he doesn't leave it to chance. He's really intentional.
It's also a coffee cup. If it does not add value...
Same here, very intentional framing where you see that his right cuts out the counter. And then also this brings to a moment in the music where it just stops and you're like, okay, what's happening?
I get rid of it. Some have asked me...
Those are like the moments that build the attention in you as a viewer and really get you engaged. And he's been doing that so perfectly.
What about things that bring you joy? I got rid of that as well.
And here in the voiceover, you hear that he's leaving a lot of intentional breaks. And he's giving a special intonation. And then he's turning it down to come to the conclusion.
This isn't what my day actually looks like.
And then I was very relieved after I watched this the first time. So I was like, okay, did I just do a mistake for subscribing to him?
I'm not that much of an asshole. You guys want to see what an actual day in the life of a minimalist is like? Well, I'll show you mine.
Here another shot where you see the overhead rig. So the camera is very far away, or looks very far away, so he really needed to put it all the way high up on the ceiling.
I usually wake up between 6 or 6:30 a.m.
And then another thing is that here, just the moment where he's getting out of bed, he's shooting it from 2 different angles. It only takes a couple of seconds to shoot the actual scene, but the magic is really in the setup. He has 2 different cameras, 2 different angles, set the focus beforehand, really think about how it's framed. That's what really makes his videos
Depending
special.
on how many...
In this shot, I didn't even realize until I saw it on his Patreon that the clock here is moving.
Depending on how many times I hit the snooze button. Apart from what you may have heard about minimalists, I do have a toothbrush and I shower daily. True to the stereotype, I actually do wear the same thing pretty much every day.
So after that short scene, the next thing I want you to pay attention is the voiceover. So how he's talking in the script. First of all, the audio quality is really, really good. So I think he's using his podcast microphone. That makes it really stand out and gets you really engaged because it feels like he's sitting right next to you.
Charcoal t-shirt and a black pair of jeans. I have a stack of the same t-shirt.
Here a little bit of stop motion. That makes it look pretty cool. Just cut out the in between.
You know what they say about minimalists and pour over coffee? They're really annoying and they don't stop talking.
They are really annoying and they never stop talking about it. And here with this one, it's another shot that gets you really focused and really engaged because it gets rid of any distraction. The focus really sits here, everything else out of focus, and there's nothing else in the frame. So you really focus on those bubbles of the coffee.
Now, as I make this hipster cup of coffee, I'd love to talk for just a moment about my Patreon account.
And actually, I've recently joined his Patreon. It's really so worth it because he's put together so much behind the scenes that it, for me as a filmmaker, was super interesting to see in how he's shooting all those different shots, how he's lighting it, how he's setting up the shot, which gear he uses. So here, for example, you see how he uses his overhead rig with a monitor and how he really gets those shots that later come in the video that get rid of all the distractions. With the overhead rig, you really only see the pan. That makes it so much more engaging.
Like videos about how I make my videos, including a breakdown of the one you're watching right now. I talk about my process, how I come up with ideas.
And here, for example, the thing that I really learned from watching his behind the scenes videos is that there's so much thought that goes into the setup, into the audio and into the light, and it's way less about the actual cameras. So this exact shot here could have been on any single camera. He has a very expensive one, yeah, sure, but it's much more about the super soft lighting that's coming here. And then from the boom pole and the shotgun mic, that here gets really crisp audio from right outside the frame.
Tips for growing an audience, and advice on how to build a successful business. I usually get in about an hour of work before Natalie starts stirring in bed, at which point I'll take a little break. You want to talk?
Nope.
So here again, all these 4 or 5 different shots set on a tripod, no one there to support or hold the camera, so it's something that you can recreate for yourself. And then here with this, he films it from, I think, 3 or 4 different angles. That really makes you think about, okay, from which perspective could this look interesting?
And chat for a little bit before she gets ready for work. So I'll usually put in about 2 to 3 hours of editing in the morning, at which point around 11 o'clock, I'll get some food, which that's right now.
Did you just look at an imaginary watch? I didn't realize the first time I saw that. So here, next thing that makes his videos really special is the choice of music. In the middle of the video, now he's making a more fast-paced part, like a little bit of a montage, and he chooses the fitting music to that. Also pay attention to the sound effects. You really hear the sizzling in the pan. And of course, the moment that the toaster goes up to the beat. On all the shots, he's very intentional about the framing. So you only focus on the orange, everything else is blurry and out of focus, so there's nothing distracting you. Again, the sounds in the background that really sells this shot. And the moment that music ends with a very fitting sound of pouring in the smoothie in the glass.
Keep my lunches pretty simple. I'll typically make 2 or 3 times as much as I need and save the rest for the next couple days.
That's one of the things that really stood out to me about him last year. That man is so organized and so disciplined. Which also I think is one of the reasons for his YouTube success, because he's been so consistent in uploading one video and one podcast every single week for an entire, or I think almost 1.5 years straight. So from my point of view, that's another big factor that really played into his YouTube success.
When I get home from the gym, I'll make a protein shake. Is it weird to shake it like this?
No, it's actually normal.
Make a second cup of coffee.
Again, think about here how this would feel like if there was no sound to the pouring in of the coffee.
And then I'm back to work.
It needs to be there and it gets you engaged.
Scheduling future podcast guests, recording episodes, or filming videos.
Here again, remember the scene earlier in the bedroom when you hear her say nope. And if you had the microphone on the camera, that would have never sounded that good. But in the moment, you as a viewer don't think about it. But what he actually did behind the scenes is set up a tripod with a boom pole and a shotgun mic right outside of the frame to get their dialogue.
When Nat comes home from work, I usually shut down my work for the day as well. If it wasn't for Nat.
Again, all shots on the tripod.
But I don't spend any unnecessary time chasing things that aren't important to me. Before bed, I'll take a look at my calendar, to-do list, and prepare for the following day.
And hopefully prepare for the next video. And I still remember that since I started following Matt, I've every single week been super excited and anticipating when I would see the next time his thumbnail appear in my feed and then start watching his video. I really hope this breakdown was helpful to you and you learned something to improve your filmmaking. If this was helpful, then down there is a playlist with many more of those breakdown videos. Also, if you enjoyed this, then I think you should subscribe and hit the like button down there. And I guess that's it for today. Until next time.